There is a scene in Back to the Future that millions of people have watched. They have rewatched it. They have quoted it. They have shown it to their kids. And not one of them noticed what was sitting right there in front of them the whole time. This is not a small mistake. This is not a blurry background detail that only a film professor would catch. This is something you can see with your own eyes the moment someone points it out. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The crazy part is that the people who made this film knew about it. They saw it. They chose to leave it in anyway. And the reason they made that choice tells you everything about how this movie almost did not exist at all. Let's go back to the beginning. Not 1955. Not 1985. Back to 1980, when two guys named Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale sat down and wrote a script about a teenager, a scientist, and a car that could travel through time. They thought it was a great idea. Hollywood thought it was a disaster. Studio after studio read the script and said no. Not just a few studios. 40 of them. The feedback was brutal. They were told the story was too clean, too warm, too friendly. This was the early 1980s. Movies that made money were edgy and adult and full of content that parents would not want their kids to see. A sweet time travel story with a kid and an old man had absolutely no place in that world. Nobody wanted it. Then Zemeckis directed a film called Romancing the Stone in 1984. It was a huge hit. Suddenly, the same people who had laughed at him were returning his calls. Universal Pictures came back to the table. The project had a second life. But the problems were just getting started. The studio president sent a memo demanding they change the title to Spaceman from Pluto. Zemeckis and Gale were horrified. They had fought to protect that title for years. Steven Spielberg stepped in and saved them by writing back to the studio president and treating the suggestion like it was a joke. The title stayed, but the casting situation was far messier and far more expensive. Zemeckis had always wanted Michael J. Fox for the lead role of Marty McFly. The problem was that Fox was the star of a television show called Family Ties, and the man running that show had no interest in sharing him. In fact, he had been quietly hiding the offer from Fox for months. Fox did not even know the role existed. By the time Zemeckis found this out and pushed the conversation forward, it was too late to wait. They needed to start filming. So they hired a different actor named Eric Stoltz. Stoltz filmed for nearly 7 weeks. That is almost half of the entire production schedule. The cast got used to him. The crew got used to him. And the whole time, something fell off. His performance was serious and heavy and deeply committed, but the character needed lightness. Marty McFly had to be funny and quick and a little goofy. Stoltz was giving them something closer to a drama. Nobody said anything out loud for weeks. Zemeckis kept watching the footage and hoping it would improve. It never did. Eventually Spielberg came in to look at the material. Together, they made the call. Stoltz was out. He found out from his agent, not from the director. Replacing him cost $4 million and forced the production to reshoot enormous chunks of the film. Universal executives were in quiet panic mode. The budget had already grown past what they were comfortable with. And now this. Fox finally got the script, read it, called it the best he had ever seen, and jumped in immediately. But the situation he was jumping into was already under enormous pressure. He was not allowed to leave Family Ties. That meant he had to do both jobs at the same time. He would spend the day filming the TV show, finish in the early evening, drive directly to the film set, and work through the night until 2 or 3 in the morning. He slept 3 or 4 hours a day for 3 straight months. His driver would sometimes carry him into his apartment because he was too exhausted to walk. He later wrote in his memoir that during that period he stopped existing as a real person. He became lines and marks and cues. He forgot what it felt like to just be himself. All of that pressure, all of those reshoots, all of that chaos created exactly the kind of environment where things slipped through the cracks. And the thing that slipped through in this film is something that fans have been walking past for 40 years without realizing what they were looking at. Go back to the parking lot scene near the beginning of the film. It is night. The mall is quiet. Then everything explodes. Marty is running. The Libyans are chasing him. The DeLorean is cutting across the empty lot at full speed. The camera pulls back into a wide shot showing the car from a distance. You can see through the window. Not sharply, not in close-up, but well enough. Look at who is behind the wheel. That is not Michael J. Fox. That is Eric Stoltz, the actor who was fired, the man whose name was removed from the credits, the man whose entire performance was supposed to be erased from the film. He is right there. The reason he is still in the movie is not complicated. The shots were wide enough that his face was not clearly visible. Reshooting that footage would have cost money the production did not have. So they looked at it, made a calculation, and decided to leave it in. Nobody was going to notice. And for 40 years, almost nobody did. But the parking lot is not the only place he appears. Watch the skateboard chase sequence carefully. There are moments where Marty looks slightly different. The shirt underneath the jacket is not consistent. The body looks noticeably taller. Fox stands at around 5 feet 4 inches. Stoltz is around 6 feet tall. That is a big difference, and it shows if you are paying attention. In certain frames during that chase, the person you are watching move through that scene is not the actor you think it is. Then there is the scene in Lou's diner where Marty hits Biff. Watch it closely, and something strange starts happening between cuts. In one shot, Marty looks exactly like Fox. His hair is its normal brown color. His height looks right. Then the shot changes. His hair suddenly looks darker. That darker color matches the shade that Stoltz had his hair dyed when he was playing the role earlier in the shoot. The height changes too. In shots that most likely came from the original Stoltz footage, Marty suddenly looks almost the same height as Biff, played by Thomas F. Wilson, who stands at around 6 feet 2. Fox and Wilson have a height difference that should always be obvious on screen. But Stoltz and Wilson are much closer in height. So those shots give it away if you know what you are looking for. What you are actually watching in that scene is not one performance. It is 2 different actors cut together and presented as one, a patchwork, and nobody was supposed to notice. There is one more piece to this that almost nobody talks about. An actress named Melora Hardin was originally cast in the role of Jennifer, Marty's girlfriend. She fit naturally alongside Stoltz. She was the right height for the scenes they were shooting together. When Fox came in and replaced Stoltz, Hardin suddenly became too tall for the role. The height difference between her and Fox made the scenes look wrong. So she was let go and replaced by Claudia Wells. 2 actors were removed from the same film because of one casting change. Hardin has talked about this in interviews. She was already on her way to set when she got the phone call telling her not to come. So you have a film where the fired actor is still visible in at least 3 different parts of the final cut. The production knew. The editing team knew. They flagged these moments before the film was released. But the release date was already locked. The studio was not going to move it. The box office mattered more than fixing the problem. So the call was made. Leave it in. Ship it. Hope nobody notices. Here is the part that makes all of this even more interesting. This same film, built on a foundation of chaos and last-minute decisions and scenes that were never properly finished, went on to become the biggest movie of 1985. It made $381 million. In 2007, the United States Library of Congress added it to a list of films considered important enough to preserve permanently as part of the National Cultural Record. A script that 40 studios rejected. A production that nearly collapsed twice. A finished film with an actor hiding inside it who was never supposed to be there. That film is now a national treasure. And the Stoltz situation was not even the most legally complicated hidden face story connected to this franchise. When the sequel came out, audiences watching the character of George McFly felt that something was slightly off. His face looked almost right. His movements were close. But something did not quite fit. The reason was that the actor playing George McFly in the sequel was not Crispin Glover, who had played him in the original. Glover had declined to return over disagreements about money and the message of the story. Instead of simply casting a new actor and presenting him as a replacement, the filmmakers did something that had never been done before in Hollywood. They took a mold of Glover's actual face, built a latex mask from it, and put that mask on a different actor. Then they took footage of Glover from the first film and added it into the sequel without asking him or paying him. Glover sued. He was awarded a settlement of around $760,000. And the Screen Actors Guild rewrote its rules as a direct result of that lawsuit, establishing protections that made it illegal to use one actor's face on another person's body without permission. Glover said it himself in interviews. Because of what he fought for, those rules now exist. 33 years later, in 2023, the SAG-AFTRA strike brought Hollywood to a standstill over the exact same issue. Studios were pushing for contracts that would let them use artificial intelligence to recreate actors' faces and bodies without ongoing consent or additional payment. The actors said no. They had the same argument Glover was having in 1990. He was fighting that fight before most of the industry understood the fight existed. Back to the Future looks clean when you watch it. It feels smooth. The story moves fast and the characters feel real, and the moments stay with you long after the credits roll. But underneath all of that, if you go back and look at the right scenes, you will find an actor who was fired still showing up in the finished film. You will find two different performers cut together in the same scene. You will find a woman who was let go because a different actor was shorter than the one she replaced. The film is full of things that were never supposed to be there. And the wilder truth is that none of it breaks the movie. It still works. It still holds up. It still makes people feel exactly the way it made them feel the first time they saw it. That might honestly be the strangest thing about this entire story. A production that was nearly rejected, nearly collapsed, made at a pace that left no room to fix what was breaking, with a fired actor hiding in the final cut that nobody caught for 40 years. And it turned out to be one of the most beloved films ever made. Sometimes the thing that should not work is the thing that lasts forever. Now go back and watch that parking lot scene again. You will never look at it the same way.